Hello lovelies, so I am back. This is going to be my first infamous killer story that I am going to be covering with you guys. And as promised, this story is on Ed Gein. Those of you who don't know him by his government name, that is the real Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whatever you want to call him, crazy dude. But anyway, I wanted to touch on this story because I happen to be scrolling down. Sorry, I keep looking down. My cat's bothering me. But I happen to be on social media and I started seeing a lot of his inventions, I guess you could say. Like his chair made out of people's skin, or purses made out of like women's faces, and I looked at the pictures and I was like, this is absolutely freaky. What is this? And I looked up the name and I had no idea Edward Gein was Leatherface. And I'm like, oh, it makes sense now. So, just reading into his story, I did a lot of research on this because I was really curious how on earth someone's mind got to the point where you wanted to skin people and make upholstery out of it. Like, to me that is freakishly weird. But I'm just gonna get into pretty much a little bit of his background, his story, and some of the murders and creepy things that I think he has done. I'm gonna leave theories at the end of the video on why I believe that he was the way he was, or how he became the way he was. And you guys can feel free to comment, subscribe, like, let me know your thoughts. If you just thought he was born this way, if it was because of his environment, or whatever, we can have discussion in the comments below moving forward. But Ed Gein was born on August 27, 1906. He was one of two boys, and he was born to two parents very dysfunctional, I would say. His mother, Augusta, despised his father. His father was an alcoholic who could not keep a job. So he would get drunk, have episodes, lose a job, try to get back into it, not be able to work, things like that. So she did despise her father. She was extremely religious. She did grow up, very religious and teaching the boys under a Lutheran teaching. She also told her children that all women were naturally prostitutes and instruments of the devil, which I thought that was weird. And she would read to them every night from the Bible. And she wouldn't just read, Noah's Ark or Adam and Eve. She would read to them about like death and murder and divine rehabilitation and retribution, and things that would happen if they basically didn't obey God, and if they got involved with women who were the devil's instruments. Ed Gein, as a kid, was described as being like extremely weird, awkward child, kind of like in his own world. He would like play by himself. He had very strange mannerisms. He would laugh at himself and laugh at his own jokes. And it was actually stated that he was punished if he tried to make friends. So his mother was very, very big on trying to keep them away from outsiders. And she said she didn't want anyone to influence their behavior. So with all of their religious upbringings and things like that, she just didn't want anyone to come in and teach against what she had actually taught. There was an incident on May 16th, 1944, where Ed Gein and his brother Henry, which, as I stated, was his only brother, they had to burn off pretty much molded vegetation. They had a huge farmland. They had to burn off vegetation just to kill it off, the ones that weren't needed. just to make room for new crops and things like that. So I'm guessing this is something, I'm not too sure about farmland and farming, but I'm guessing this is something that was regularly done on farmland. But anyway, they had to burn off vegetation on the farmland, and it was stated that the fire got out of control and it just grew, just drastically grew. And at the time of the fire, Ed could not find his brother. So after the fire department and the police and everyone came to put the fire out and to help look for his brother, his body was later found that day. It was reported that he had bruises to his body and then to his head, as if he had blunt force trauma. And a lot of people rumored that they thought Ed had a lot to do with his brother's death. They did find the cause of death to be asphyxiation. And so that being, you know, his mother's son and his only brother, his mother got really sick after the death of her son. She did end up suffering from a stroke, and which Ed Gein did devote his life, for the rest of her life, to take care of her, just to make sure she was okay and things like that. He was very, 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 like, devoted to his mother. That was pretty much the only woman in his life. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, his father did eventually die from alcoholism. So it was just him and his mother left. Some strange occurrences about his mother is that Ed stated a story that he remembered going into town to a convenience store with a man, Mr. Smith, where they went to go purchase straw. I'm guessing for something on the farm. I have no idea what you use straw for. Horses, animals, dogs, I don't know. They went to go purchase straw, and the owner of the store, Mr. Smith, was seen beating a dog to death. And Ed responded saying that he remembered just being really disturbed by watching the man beat the dog to death, and he could not believe that this was actually happening. And he didn't say anything, but that his mother was actually very, very mad. And she was not upset about the beating of the dog. She was actually upset because a woman near the store came by to let the man know that you should stop. Don't beat the dog. That's not right. And his mother's response was, that's not even his wife, and she has no business telling him what to do. And she referred to the woman as Smith's harlot. And that's pretty much how her personality was. She was a woman who believed that a woman should carry themselves in a quiet manner, kind of behind the scenes, no loud mouthing, no talking, no makeup, no skimpy wear and things like that, which I think personally kind of led to some of Ed Gein's strange behavior. Now, shortly after that incident, Gein's mother did die, which is very strange. They did bury his mother, and shortly after that, that's when the killings start. There were 2 incidents in Wisconsin where he was born and raised and continued to live, where 2 women had been murdered. One was she was a store resident. Actually, no, let me go back. And shortly after his death, it was quoted that Gein stated he had lost his only friend and his one true love. When I saw that statement, it rung very, very strange to me, because I'm like, his one true love, your mom, your one true love. Okay, and then, as reported, there were 2 murders that happened that were possibly linked back to Gein. One was a convenience store worker, and one was a sheriff's mother. Not sure if I have those two confused, but they might be the same person. But there were two murders that was on the books for Gein, and they had quite a few bodies that were exhumed. It was stated that Ed Gein would be seen going in and out of the cemetery. That was the part that I didn't know. Now, I knew about him being a killer and murdering and, you know, taking body parts of dead victims. But he also was making frequent trips to cemeteries, which he said he was in a daze. And he said he had made about 40 trips to a cemetery in which he was in an actual daze. And that, sorry guys, trying to put on motion. That he was in an actual daze, and that 30 out of the 40 times he just left, and he didn't do any damage, and he didn't take anything. But 10 times out of the 40 times that he had actually borrowed, and that's what he referred to it as, borrowed body parts. And it said that even some sheriffs had taken a look at some graves that had been dug up. And sorry guys if it's a trigger warning to anybody, but that there were graves that were dug up that parts of the bodies were missing, other parts were still there, and there were not a lot of them, but some of the bodies were missing jewels and trinkets that the family members had left with the particular bodies that he had taken. There had been limbs that had been missing that he had taken, and it also was found that the sheriff's mother, who was the store clerk owner, was also found. Once they did find or link the murders to Gein, was found on his farmland. And this is kind of a trigger. It's gonna get a little gory, but was found on his farmland, hung upside down by her legs, with a crossbar at her legs, her hands bound in rope, and her torso drawn out like a deer. Now, if you don't know what that means, hate to get a little graphic, but basically, when you catch a deer, you go deer hunting, and you bring the deer home. If you don't send it to a shop to get it done by someone else, you cut the deer down the middle of the torso, and you fan it out and remove the intestines and everything else, which is absolutely absurd to do to a person. Like, I can't even take seeing it being done to an animal, which is legal, but to do it to a person is just beyond me. She also had been shot with a .22 caliber gun, so I'm guessing that's how he actually got her to the home that he had shot her and brought her back. And that's sickening to me. He also, how he knew this, I don't know. I thought this was very strange. But he dug up, I guess maybe looking at the tombstones and the dates, he dug up middle-aged women that he thought would look like his mother, stating that he felt a connection to these women. But the strange thing about it is that the women that he did dig up, they would be the opposite of who his mother was, so, or what she stood for. As I was stating before, she was more of a conservative type. A woman should be quiet. She should keep to herself, mind her husband, things like that. The store clerk owner that he did murder was known to be kind of mouthy with bad language and things like that. Some of the women that he dug up were kind of, what's the word, promiscuous, dressed a little bit more provocative than you would have been known for that time. And it was asked once he was finally arrested if he had ever slept with any of the women, and it was stated, or he stated, that he didn't because they smelled too bad. So I don't know if that's to say, or for him to say that he only didn't sleep with them because they smelled bad, or if they had not been dead for too long, he would have actually slept with them. I don't know. I thought that was a really strange statement that was included. And then also, one of the things that I did think was really strange with him is that he created a woman suit. And his description of why he created this suit is because he wanted to actually crawl into his mother's skin. So I thought that was strange. And to also go back to what it was said about him, like exhuming bodies of the women who were the opposite of what his mother stood for. He stated that the killings were for him, that he was doing it for his mother. So basically giving justice to her for all of these bad women, or these prostituting women, or these devil's instruments of women. And I thought that was very interesting as well, because I'm like, that is so freaky. Like, who does that? But anyway, so he was arrested in West Plainfield, Wisconsin, and he was tried as guilty. However, he was unfit to stand trial, and was committed to a mental institution. He actually died of liver and respiratory failure in Mendota Medical Hospital, mental medical hospital. And I just wanted to read a list of some of the things that he did do with some of the bodies that he collected, or some of the people that he murdered. I thought that was really interesting. So this might also be a trigger, just warning you guys. And I will also link in the description box below a site where you can see some of the actual items that he created from women's bodies or different bodies, which was, when I first saw it, I didn't know what it was, and I'm like, this is freaky. So that's going to be in the description box below, but I just wanted to read some of the things that they found when they investigated his farmland. And they found whole human bones and fragments, waste baskets made of human skin covering several chairs, skulls on his dead post, bowls made from human skin, a corset from a female torso, skin from shoulder to waist, leggings made from human skin, masks made from the skin of females' heads. Mary Hogan, which was the first victim that I was mentioning that he murdered, Mary Hogan's skull in a box. Bernice Warden, who was the store clerk owner and the sheriff's mother, her entire head in a burlap sack, her heart in a plastic bag in front of Gein's pot-bellied stove, 9 toes in a box, a young girl's dress, and a vulva of 2 females judged to have been about 15 years old, a belt made from female human nipples, 4 noses, a pair of lips, and a window-shade drawstring, and fingernails from female fingers. Wow. That is bizarre. So after he did go to jail for everything, he did admit to killing Mary Hogan. He had already been brought up on trials for Bernice Warden. And a lot of the artifacts, like I stated, some of the ones that I did mention that he actually made usable items out of, have been kept. His house was actually burned down, and when they informed him that his house and farmland had been burned down, he just said just as well, as if he didn't care, which I just thought was so strange. These are people's family members. These are people's mothers, sisters, aunts that you have mutilated their bodies, dead or alive. It's sickening. And then also, just to get started in some of my theories, I think that he may have always been a troubled child, and I don't think, and I can't put a blame on someone else wholly, but I think as a mother that it's vitally important the role that you play in your children's lives. I do. And I think that his mother being so strict and so hard with religious like her religious mindset that she pushed onto her children kind of skewed his vision of women, his vision of life, his vision of the value of life and the value of women, because it sounded to me as if the only woman that would have been capable in his life, or someone that would be fit in his life, would be his mother. And that to me is a little strange, especially the point of him stating he lost his one true friend, his brother Henry, and his one true love, his mother. Like, that to me rings weird. Like, you get a girlfriend, dude? Like, something? I don't know. But anyway, those are the thoughts that I had with Ed Gein. Like I said below, leave your thoughts on what exactly do you think came of him, or how he got this way, or what would possess someone to mutilate a body or exhume a body out of a graveyard. Like, I am all about death. I love to read and look up videos about autopsies and cemeteries and funerals, but to go to a cemetery and actually exhume someone's body and take pieces of their body parts, like to hear that you took fingernails out of a woman's fingers that was already dead, or just take women's skulls. And there were also people who said they had visited Gein and that he had shrunken heads in his house, and you know, he was just a weird guy. I don't even think, I've seen the movie Leatherface, I've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't even think those movies do him justice. Not that he deserves any justice, but just reading some of this, it seems more gory than what the movies have ever predicted or shown. Like, it's way too much, and it's crazy. But you guys, leave your comments below. Let me know if you have anyone else that you want me to cover, any more interesting serial killers or deranged killers that I have not covered. This is the first video in this segment. I'm willing to do a million more. I am so in love with investigating and reading through these types of things. But like I said, just leave your comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. There's going to be more of these videos to come, of course. I plan on doing scary stories, Reddit stories, paranormal stories. And don't just limit it to killers in the past. I am up for recent killers or recent stories that you guys may not be solved, that you guys want to leave your comments, or, you know, we can try to help search for a solution for these cases. I'm up for it. But before you do anything, make sure you subscribe, thumbs up this video, and leave a comment so we can have open discussions about these different cases and what you guys think about them. But other than that, loves, thank you so much for watching this video. It means the world to me. Thank you, and bye.